6 tasks open. Done column blank. 3 hours, 47 minutes on the clock. You called that staying on top of it. That is the pattern. The document is half written. The inbox is open. The spreadsheet has 3 edited cells. The message draft is waiting. Progress bars everywhere. Closed items nowhere. Then the cursor jumps again. Back to the document. Then to the inbox. Then to the spreadsheet. Then back to the message. Typing gets faster. Red lines appear under the words. A sentence gets rewritten twice. A number lands in the wrong row. The document is still not finished. The email is still not sent. The spreadsheet is still not checked. But it feels active. It feels like control. It feels like you are responding to what matters. The day ends with the same screen. 6 tasks open. Same progress bars. Same blank done column. More time spent. Nothing closed. That is the part that matters. You were moving. You were answering. You were checking. You were adjusting. You were touching everything. But touching a task is not closing a task. And the done column does not care how busy the session felt. Every switch looked reasonable. An email came in, so you checked it. A document stalled, so you moved to something easier. A message needed a reply, so you opened it. A number needed checking, so you jumped to the spreadsheet. Nothing looked irresponsible in the moment. That is why the loop survives. Each switch has a reason. Each switch can be defended. Each switch feels like prioritization, but the task you leave does not pause cleanly. The sentence stays half-active. The number stays unresolved. The question stays in the background. So when you move to the next task, you do not arrive clean. You arrive carrying residue from the task you just left. The new task gets less than it needs. The old task is still not closed. Now both are costing you. You can see it when you return. The document is still there. The cursor is blinking, but you do not start writing. You scroll up. You reread the last paragraph. You try to remember the point. You check the source again. You rebuild the state you had before you left. That rebuild is part of the cost. It does not get logged. It does not feel like failure. It just eats the next block. Then you finally start moving again. A notification comes in, and the cycle resets. The visible damage is simple. The session clock moves. The done count does not. That is the first cost. A task was started, then interrupted, then restarted, then interrupted again. Every return required a warm-up. Every warm-up took energy. Every switch made the next piece of work slower and rougher. And because none of the tasks reached a closed state, every open task became a future restart. That is why the list looks active but feels heavy. It is not a list of work in progress. It is a list of unfinished re-entry costs. Task A opens. You write 2 paragraphs. The direction is clear. Then an email arrives. It looks important enough. You switch. Task B opens. You answer half of it. You need 1 piece of information. So you open the spreadsheet. Task C opens. You check 1 number. That number raises another question. You go back to task A. The document is still open, but the thread is not. You reread. You delete 1 sentence. You type another. You stop. Because the email is still waiting. Back to task B. The reply is still half written. You reread that too. You fix 1 phrase. You notice a typo. You fix the typo. You still do not send it. Now there are 3 tasks open. None of them are closed. The workday did not fail because nothing happened. It failed because everything happened before anything closed. That is what makes task switching hard to catch. From the outside, you look engaged. You are not staring at a blank screen. You are inside the files. You are answering messages. You are making edits. You are moving fast. That gives you evidence that you are working. But it gives you the wrong evidence. Activity is not closure. A task you touched again is not a task you finished. A task you moved forward is still open if it has no visible closed state. The document shows this. The inbox shows this. The call shows this. You are writing a document. A message comes in. You switch to the inbox. You answer enough to feel responsible. Then you return to the document. The argument is broken. You scroll up. You reread. You spend the next minutes trying to re-enter a thought you already had. The email felt brief. The restart was not. Same thing with the phone. You are mid-task. The call comes in. It is reasonable to take it. You talk for 4 minutes. Then you return. The work is still on screen, but the working state is gone. The call did not move the done count. The restart did not move the done count. The task is still open. That is the residue tax. Every switch charges the next task. You pay it whether the switch was voluntary or forced. You pay it whether the switch felt smart or necessary. You pay it even when the switch was to something important. The cost is not in the click. The cost is in the attention that does not fully arrive afterward, and the done column records the total. This is why the problem is not switching by itself. The deeper problem is switching before a task reaches a closed state. Close a task, and there is nothing to rebuild later. Leave it open, and it becomes a future restart. That is the loop. Open, touch, switch, reload, touch, switch again. End the session with proof of effort, and no proof of closure. The reason it keeps happening is simple. Switching pays you immediately. A task gets hard. You move away. Relief. A sentence stalls. You check email. Relief. A decision inside the work feels unclear. You open another file. Relief. The relief is real. That is why the behavior repeats. The cost arrives later. At the end of the session, when the task list is still open, when the done column is still blank, when the clock says the day was spent, you do not feel the cost at the moment you switch. You feel it when nothing is closed. By then, the loop has been rewarded all day. The second cost is worse. You do not just close less. You produce worse work when something finally closes. Late in the session, typing is still fast, but the errors are higher. The sentences are thinner. The number checking gets sloppier. The reply needs more cleanup. The document has patches instead of flow. You are compensating with speed, but speed is not recovery. So the day ends in a bad trade. More effort, less closure, rougher output. And the next day starts with the same open tasks still waiting. This is where the defense gets stronger. At 9 in the morning, switching feels like flexibility. At 5 in the afternoon, stopping to finish one thing feels like abandoning everything else. That is the trap. The longer you switch, the harder it becomes to stop. Because admitting the pattern is costly means admitting the whole day was structured wrong, so the shield hardens. You cannot ignore the inbox. You cannot leave the spreadsheet. You cannot stop checking the other thread. You cannot focus on one thing because the others still matter. That sounds responsible. But look at the screen. The responsibility did not close anything. The list was not too big. The session was not too short. The motivation was not missing. The behavior was constant. The missing piece was smaller. Nothing forced a visible state change before the next task opened. So the done column had no reason to move. A timer will not solve that. A cleaner schedule will not solve that. A better priority list will not solve that. You can switch inside all of them and still end with the same blank column. The constraint has to hit the exact point where the loop begins. No new task opens until the current one is marked closed, not perfect. Closed, sent, finished, logged, submitted, saved with the next action written, a section completed, a row marked, a decision recorded. The stopping point does not have to be the whole task, but it has to be a visible closed state. Keep the current task on screen. Reach one stopping point. Mark it closed before opening the next one. That is the rule. Not because it feels better, because it changes the proof. The done column flips from blank to 1. Then the next task can open. If a new task opens while the current task's done column is still blank, the loop is already back. At the end of your last full work session, how many tasks were open at the start? And how many had a visible closed state at the end?